Welcome to my presentation, where I will critically review my journey through the makings of my final major project. Graphite is set in a future where freedom for creativity has been taken away under a repressive regime. Mary, daughter of a respected figure within the force, must battle with her secret passion for art while trying not to destroy her relationship with her father. This film is a product of the coronavirus lockdown. Stuck at home in Portugal, I began looking into hobbies, and after trying multiple things, I began painting. Few weeks into it, I noticed that everything I looked at, my imagination turned into paintings. This gave me an idea for a scene, but there was no story there yet. I began writing a story around the idea for this scene, and my very first draft was about a coming of age tale of a teen whose father was dismissive of arts, but that after seeing their paintings, he finally gives in. However, I felt that this story was very formulaic, and it had been told before way better than I ever could. One evening, while I was looking for films to watch, I noticed that Ridley Scott's Blade Runner was about to start on the telly. I stuck around to watch it, and after 120 minutes of it, I had found a new favorite film and an unshaking feeling that my story could also be a neo-noir set in the future. Writing the script was a spontaneous thing that happened. Fortunately, I was able to draw from my experience writing for first year's unit screenwriting from pitch to page. Among many tricks, techniques, and tools that I've learned or was made aware of in this unit, Blake Snyder's Save the Cat and its beat sheet might have been the most useful, and I used it to help me structure my script. I also used Scriptlab's character questionnaire, which comprises of 50 questions to ask your characters in order to develop or test how developed they are. Even though I was dabbling in script writing, my goal was always to direct my FMP, because that's the route I want my career to take. I had given it a go for a project in year 2, but apart from that small experience, this was virtually unknown to me. However, this brief experience taught me that I needed to develop two key areas: the technical knowledge and people management. To help me consolidate my technical knowledge, I made a short video clip for a fellow music production student. I read John Marner's Directing Motion Pictures, which is a general handbook on the entire process of filmmaking, and watched and took notes of hours worth of tutorials and instructive videos online, mainly through, but not limited to, Studio Binder's YouTube channel. I read Dale Carnegie's How to Make Friends and Influence People to develop my management skills, to understand how to lead by example and how to inspire people to give their best even in stressful situations. I watched dozens of interviews with successful directors such as Quentin Tarantino or Martin Scorsese, most of them thanks to the Hollywood Reporter's YouTube series Directors Roundtable. I also sought to learn more about human interaction, so I completed the screen skills training programs, tackling harassment and bullying at work, and addressing unconscious bias, basic awareness in the workplace. Pre-production began without much trouble. It all started when I invited Callum, Adam, and João to join me in turning my script into reality, which they accepted. Later, we invited Megan to fill one of the remaining roles, and Raquel joined last to complete the team. I presented a rough draft of the script alongside with a visual mood board that transmitted my ideas for the film. Once I had the feedback on the script, I reviewed it, and for a few weeks I polished it, taking into account the group's feedback as well as Jacob, who acted as our script consultant. Once we had the script polished to a filmable standard, I met with each one of my colleagues so that we could brainstorm on what the film needed from them in each of their own areas. Once that was done, we began listing props and digital assets that we needed, and we began location scouting. However, once Christmas break came along and we had a few assignments to hand in, the group dispersed, and this led to the first instances of friction due to the delays on our work. Our crowdfunding platform was set late in March, and filming started in late April, leading to a small window to gather funds. Our budget was not reviewed after a first, very rough estimate that pointed towards £4,000, where in fact we needed little more than £2,000. Our social media presence was established late, which did not help with finding sponsors and donors. And castings began little over a month before film began, which overpacked the weeks in which we should have been getting ready. A second down, two actresses cancelled. One cancelled a couple of weeks before filming, which gave us enough time to find a replacement, but the other did it 2 days before filming. We tried to contact local actresses that had shown interest before, just as we did for the other role. This time, however, some were busy with their own FMP, some never applied, and one asked for amenities that our budget could not support. In panic, we had to go with Megan, who was one of the only available person we knew with some acting training, even though this is a big downgrading factor in the assessment criteria. The group gave me a final say on this matter, but after everything else failed, I had to give the go-ahead. On day one of filming, we had the luck to count with Carl Worthen, who played the lead character's father, and Gemma Wilkes, who played the mother. Carl is an experienced and kind actor who made us feel at ease with learning on our feet, and Gemma was a kind and supportive presence too. The support from the actors gave me the confidence to learn the ropes on the job and gave me the opportunity to make mistakes, especially given that we were filming the most difficult scene on day one. Emma McConaughey and George Richardson were very helpful too. They had recently finished their FMP and gave us a hand with film, but above all, they shared their experience with us, and when we were tired and tensions were higher, they came in and often helped us with getting back on track, with the film and with each other. Technically speaking, some things were not so smooth. I originally intended to have an on-set dedicated cinematographer because Adam, our DOP, told me he was keener on working as camera operator and because he got his cinematography unit cut short due to the pandemic. However, I took too long to talk to cinematographers, and by the time I did, they were booked. Furthermore, I was easily discouraged by one of our group members who did not believe that we needed a cinematographer, and I relented even though I knew I should not. Shepsy, who played Isaac, the lead character's best friend, told me that he was impressed with the way I dealt with some of the stressful situations. I too am happy with my performance in this area. The general feedback from actors and crew was that our set was an enjoyable work environment. I think this is due in part to the friendship that we, the crew, established in the last 3 years, but also how I prepared for my role. I tried to make sure that this was a collective experience and that everyone felt this was their film. I tried to make sure that opinions were heard and taken into account. I did once lost my temper with a colleague, as I am naturally an explosive person. However, I knew I acted poorly, and I knew that the film would suffer. So, I came to them and openly apologized for my behavior. Had I tried to beat around the bushes, and maybe they would have felt that my regret was not honest, and this hatchet would not have been buried. However, in my attempt to be as consensual as possible, I am afraid I lost the control at some points. As mentioned previously, I relented when a colleague thought a dedicated cinematographer was not needed, even though I knew it to be. In the end, I think we suffered, and Raquel, who color corrected the film, had a lot of trouble trying to make it tonally consistent. Some of my colleagues reached for the easy way out every now and again, and I did not use the power that I had and that they consensually gave it to me to stop it, all because I didn't want to make them feel that they had no say. I might have been overly cautious, or even afraid of dealing with the consequences of going against them and turning out that I made the wrong call. Making this film was worth 1,000 lectures. I took plenty of lessons from this film that I will try to apply in my future endeavors. Firstly, I learned that directing a film requires as much technical skills as it does people skills. Filming is an exhausting experience. When the body is tired, the mind follows, which enables our capacity to communicate and enables miscommunication and disagreement. People are different, and to lead a team, it is important to acknowledge that diversity and to put it to work towards a common goal. A second big lesson I take from this experience is the importance of planning ahead and thoroughly. Would I have done so and some issues, minor and major, could have been avoided? For instance, if we had booked the locations with more time in advance, we would have been able to visit and draw some schemes of the set when planning scenes. Not doing so, we had to change plans on the go, and filming became a start and stop affair. It also led to the need for reshoots. Even though I consider the reshoots a positive experience where we had to get creative, and may I say so, to a positive outcome, it meant more time filming, more expenses, and a significant gamble. Finally, I learned that if I'm thrust into a position of leadership, I have to know when to take advice or when to follow my vision and own my own decisions. Finally, I've learned that if I'm thrust into a position of leadership, I have to know when to take advice or when to follow my vision. And above all else, I have to own my decisions.